on CBSSports.com. David Cobb wrote this. The last 10 national champions in college football, the last 10, which is basically the playoff era, the whole playoff era, each one had this in common. They returned, entering the season that they won the championship. They entered that season with 3 of these 4 positions returning, or they had these 4 things were going on. They returned their head coach, so no rookie coach won it, no coach had a new job. They returned their offensive coordinator. They returned their defensive coordinator, or they returned a quarterback who started at least 4 games the season before. So they needed 3 of those 4 things. So you could be without your defensive coordinator, but you got the other 3. You could have a new quarterback, I guess. It must have happened. But you had all your coaching stuff. So they call it like this, the core of the team. Head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, quarterback. They had those 4 things. Each team had 3 of them. Many of them had 4. So who knows if this is, hey, it's June, right? Okay.
Yeah, we're this is a barrel scraper, as I would call it. But it's interesting.
Kind of interesting, right?
We're all looking for a formula to figure out who's going to win.
Listen, David Cobb, you did something. So I'm good job. So we'll go through here teams that have that.
Yeah.
Georgia Bulldogs. Kirby Smart, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann, and quarterback Carson Beck. They got all 4. Texas, Steve Sarkisian, head coach, offensive coordinator Kyle Flood, defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski, I think it is, and then obviously Quinn Ewers as their quarterback. They are both 4 for 4.
And those are the teams that really don't need to be 4 for 4.
They probably don't.
Right. You don't want the Texas and Georgias to be 4 for 4 on this.
No, a little scary. Now, the intriguing one here would be Ohio State only has 2. Chip Kelly is in place as the offensive coordinator, and they will be. They have Will Howard playing quarterback. Now, he started 4 games, just not for Ohio State. So I wonder if this stuff. I'm not going to just write. That's it, Buckeyes. You're done. You got no shot. No, I mean, hold on now.
But Dan, what is the you didn't mention like the champions of the last X amount of years have had this, right?
10 straight.
Didn't you say
all
10 years?
10 straight.
All 10.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that. Okay.
10 for 10.
Wow.
So Ohio State would be your favorite to break this. They are not in the
right.
They don't even have. They only have 2. Again, was Ryan Day really the I'm not sure that offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. I mean, Ryan Day was kind of the offensive coordinator, right? He was called. Was he? I'm not sure, but
he was calling
intriguing. They don't have that.
Right.
Other contenders. Oregon has 3. They got all their coaches back, and they're putting Dylan Gabriel in for Bo Nix. So Dylan Gabriel is the one that's missing.
Dylan Gabriel has started 400 college games, so just in different uniforms.
Missouri is 3 for 4. They got Eli Drinkwitz. Kirby Moore is the offensive coordinator. Quarterback Brady Cook. And a defensive coordinator is Corey Batoon for Blake Baker. Florida State is 3 for 4. They got all their coaches. They have DJU coming in for Jordan Travis. And then this one's kind of interesting. 4 for 4. Ole Miss Rebels. Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss Jr., Pete Golding, and quarterback Jackson Dart. Other notables outside of the threshold, Ohio State, obviously most notable. Penn State is 2 for 4. Alabama is 1 of 4. All they got's a quarterback. Oklahoma's 1 of 4. LSU's 1 of 4. Michigan and Washington, 0 for 4. They got nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I get
something.
And it's one thing sports writers do. I have tried to do this stuff like with basketball or with football is to find, okay, this establishes a trend, a probability or whatever of who can win a championship. And you can come up with all kinds of formulas. I like this one because I do think continuity helps. And we've talked even transfer quarterbacks in general. the second year your transfer quarterback is your guy tends to be the better year. That was the case for Washington with Michael Penix. That was the case for Oregon with Bo Nix. It was the case for LSU with Joe Burrow, and so on and so forth. So getting continuity at a time when there's less and less of it, I think would be a very valuable commodity. So I'm in with David Cobb.
All right.
Georgia's going to win it all.
I love Dan's like, hey, it's something. I mean, at least we're not talking about effing congressional
we did
hearings
30
anymore.
minutes.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. They passed the bill that we already hyped that.
Oh yeah, we didn't get to that, did we? Yeah, we'll get back. We'll get back to that. Man, the teams you don't want to, as I mentioned earlier, to satisfy these four things are the Georgias and the Texas who have so much talent already and are certainly feels like peaking as programs. So that's going to be interesting. Ole Miss is an interesting one too because we know how good that Lane Kiffin has handled the transfer portal and how often they get incredible amounts of talent, it seems, out of there. So that's it's interesting. I wonder who the last team was to win a national championship and not satisfy three of those four things.
Well, 2013 was Florida State, which had a redshirt freshman quarterback named Jameis Winston, and I don't remember staff-wise, like from a coordinator.
I'll give you so since 1998, just 3 of the 26 national champions.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Listen.
Man, David Cobb did a lot of work here.
That's
put some respect on David Cobb's work here.
That's a couple days.
So Florida State in 2013, LSU in 2007. Now that was the 2-loss, never lost in regulation.
Yeah. That was
they were
nothing applies to 2007.
Yeah, that season.
That was just such a bad.
And then the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, because they didn't quite have they didn't quite have it because Larry Coker moved from offensive coordinator to head coach. So it's kind of 2 spots because Butch Davis, but that defense, the continuity was the defense. They didn't.
Yes. Ed Reed, Warren Sapp, whoever was on that defense, kind of they declared all formulas null.
Anyway, that is pretty amazing.
Yeah. It's a lot of work too. It is. That's a lot of work. That is. I can commend Mr. Cobb.
So I don't know. I find that Ole Miss one very interesting. I think they are a very very intriguing team. But I agree. I think especially coaching staff continuity. I think it's a big deal. And I think if you look last year at the way Washington and just take Washington and Michigan as your champions, those 2 teams were just such teams. Like they just maxed out what they could do so well. And I think that's why, particularly Michigan, which went through so much like mayhem, self-inflicted for the most part, but mayhem none. 2 different suspensions of their head coach, right? Sharon Moore had a suspension. Like they had Jack Harbaugh technically coaching the team at one point. Right. I mean, they had everything go on, and they just sort of plowed through it because they were in place of what they were doing. Nothing could rattle them. And Washington, very similarly, maxed out what they were in terms of talent and all that. So somewhat interesting. All right.